Hello, audience, and welcome to another moving week video here on the channel where I'm busy moving, so I figured I'd give you a fun, lighthearted video to discuss in the comments down below, where I'm going to be talking about who within the Fellowship is worthy to wield Thor's hammer, Mjölnir. Now, the exact requirements around who is worthy and why to wield Mjölnir does change throughout the comics and is not super, precise, so it's gonna be just, my own subjective thoughts here. And I really want to hear from you as well, where you think I got this wrong. This is not an objective matter by any means, and I really want to know where you think I am misled. But let's go ahead and kick it off with talking about probably the most obvious pick here for not worthy, and that is going to be Boromir. I love Boromir. I think he is one of the most interesting characters in the Fellowship, despite the fact that, he doesn't even make it to the end of the story. But he's not worthy. He does possess the warrior's spirit. That does seem to be a prerequisite to actually picking up and wielding Mjölnir. But in terms of that clarity of mind, that almost monk-like status that we do see the wielders of Mjölnir possessing, this sharp, well-defined purpose, he doesn't necessarily have it. And it's not because there seems to be some corruption or some kind of evil in him that does flare up as the ring exploits that insecurity inside him. I think there is actual evil that can wield Mjölnir. We've seen that before. I buy into the idea that even in the MCU, which is largely what I'm going off of here, Thanos could probably have wielded Mjölnir. I don't know that for sure, but it's just a thought. His very warrior spirit and very pure religious-like track kind of vibes with what I think Odin would deem worthy in a way. But it's the internal conflict within Boromir that prevents him from being able to pick it up in my mind. And I'm actually going to reference Captain America earlier on and how he wasn't able to fully pick it up, only make it budge in Age of Ultron, because I think Captain America hadn't evolved as a character enough to be worthy yet. Oh, he was damn near close. And Boromir's just not quite as close. If he had lived throughout the whole trilogy, maybe he could have gotten there, but as it rests with his death, I think at no point was Boromir worthy to pick up Odin's gift to his son. But moving from here, we have two more very obvious no's, and that's going to be Merry and Pippin. No, okay, they are probably actually a lot closer than a lot of people are going to give them credit for. They charge into battle, they try and save their friends' lives. There is definitely some merit to them meeting a couple of the requirements, but in general, they're just too interested in taters, and they're not quite brave enough, despite showing a lot of bravery, to earn it. I just don't see them being on the level. They're not there. They're brave, and they are warriors in some ways, but would Odin be like, "Here, hobbitling, take Thor's hammer"? No. Next up, though, I want to talk about two of the warriors of the group. One I do find possibly more worthy than the other, but there's one scene specifically for Legolas that to me deems him not worthy. And this is going to be the moment within Helm's Deep where he is disparaging about the chances of the soldiers around him and basically saying, they're not going to make it. This is a hopeless endeavor, and he's just kind of being super dour about it. That to me invalidates his worthiness, and it's because you would never see someone like Thor doing that. Thor would not disparage, he would rise up. He would uplift those around him to accomplish their goals. It's not about the odds, it's about the will, the perseverance. That's key to me for being able to wield Mjölnir. I also find Legolas too full of pride. He is an exceptional warrior, no doubt, probably the best warrior in that sense of the Fellowship. He could kick the ass of all those around him, but his mind is, this is gonna sound like weirdly Middle-earth discriminatory, but he's too elvish. He's got too much of that old way of thinking in him that just doesn't fit with what I believe worthy of Mjölnir requires. But this same scene, I think, is solid proof that Aragorn would be worthy.
And I shall die as one of them!
His immediate rejection and actual anger shown with Legolas in the same scene very much so showed he is someone who could pick up the hammer and use it because, oh my god, is he the warrior of warriors. But he also has a similar-ish path for Thor to me. me that kind of vibes with his ability to then wield the weapon. He is kind of hesitant to seize the power. He's worried about his own worthiness in that sense, which to me shows a certain level of humbleness that Legolas lacks that I do think actually fits the need for the hammer. We constantly see those who are not worthy or those who have some kind of pride that is excessive or, you know, not exactly qualifying you for these magical levels.
Hence why Thor is stripped of Mjölnir in the first Thor movie due to his excessive arrogance and pride. Now, I've had some people say online to me when I've just kind of discussed it to them that you have to be some form of elevated human to be able to wield Mjölnir. Fortunately, Aragorn is, because he has that old blood in him that makes him more of an elevated being. So that actually could qualify him as well. And I am aware of the counter-argument that Legolas does kind of evolve and become more humble throughout the series, but there's a bit of a clashing between the movies and books there, so I'm not going to fully take that into account. And I do think movie Aragorn is more worthy than book Aragorn. Okay, let's talk about Gimli.
But this, of course, leads us into Gimli. And he actually took the most thought, in my opinion, of anyone here. It's easy to write Gimli off. He does seem to have some pride in dwarves. He seems to have some severe ego issues, but he checks a lot of the boxes for being able to wield the hammer. He's brave, loyal, very much so about protecting those around him and those he cares about. I still say overall no, though. He's shown to have some prejudice. He's a part of a race within Middle-earth that is inherently greedy, and, you know, they delve too deep into the earth to their demise, and they don't really overcome that. I don't think Gimli would be worthy, but I'm very much so open to being swayed differently to that. I love him as a character. There's just some things that are like not quite vibing. Now we need to transition into a pretty obvious no, and that's going to be Frodo. I don't entirely buy into the hate that's thrown at Frodo. A lot of that's just prejudice because of the movies and the books. He's not nearly as hateable, but the ring's corruption on him alone would disqualify him. I think that kind of conflict within the hammer would just lead to the hammer being like, this mind is not a place where the hammer could, you know, be at peace. I don't even know what I'm saying there, but I think you get what I'm saying. So yeah, I think Frodo's just out for that reason, as well as just not having the warrior spirit required. He just doesn't show throughout the series to me. He does show bravery, don't get me wrong, but Frodo's not a warrior, so to say. But the one next to him, Samwise, is the most worthy in the entire fellowship, in my opinion. No doubt Sam could pick it up. Not only is he brave, humble, loyal, he is a warrior to his core, and you cannot convince me otherwise. Constantly throwing himself into danger to protect Frodo, willing to stand up to a gigantic spider.
Let him go, you filth.
Go into a tower filled with goblins, and even give back the ring after picking it up, something that those before him have failed to do. Sam has the will, the spirit, the humbleness, the nobility, the kindness, the Sean-astiness, absolutely be able to pick up Mjölnir, and you cannot convince me otherwise. This is the one area of certainty I have. Everyone else I'm like a little bit Samwise can wield Mjölnir, no question, and he would do it well. We have one more member to discuss though. Gandalf, the gray and white. The gray, I think it's a maybe. I just hesitate to ascribe him warrior status in a sense, which it is clearly stated as needed to wield Mjölnir. You need to be a warrior of some sense, a fighter. He's not, right? Like, he's more of a philosopher, a magic user. He's on that other side. But I'm not saying it's a no. I'm saying it would be right on the line. He's certainly pure of heart enough. He's certainly kind enough, humble enough. We see that with his conversations for Saruman for sure. It's just a little bit more unclear with some of the requirements for Mjölnir that are not so well stated and defined, that enter this more in a space for me. But once he evolves to Gandalf the White, absolutely. Not only because I think he is kind of just super worthy in the sense of his elevated status, but there's a debate to be had that he's such a powerful magic user, he could override what was put in place, or at least understand it and exploit it to a sense. And some people are gonna balk at that idea, but you have to remember, he's not a human wizard. Gandalf is a angel, essentially, an anointed being within Middle-earth. And on top of that, you know, he's lived for so long, and he's so mighty in this returned state, and so connected with the heavens above. Mjölnir, I think, would just kind of be a natural fit for him to understand, assuming these magic systems could vibe at all. But yeah, I think he would be able to wield Mjölnir. The question is, would he really need to? Yeah, it's a powerful weapon that could give him certain things he doesn't have already, like the ability to fly. That'd be neat to see.
Off to the Shire I go!
But those are my thoughts on who within the Fellowship could wield Mjölnir and why. Let me know in the comments down below where you agree and disagree, because there's gonna be a lot of conversation around this. Just remember to keep it civil. We're nerds talking about an ultimate nerd discussion here, and I think this is a pretty good one to have. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. And have a good one, y'all. Peace.
And of course, I'd like to record a special shout out to my latest high tier Patreon, Robert Schnars.